Dennis Maginn, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks. So you are I guess, a pretty long-term Systema teacher, and for those who don't know, Systema obviously is the Russian martial art, and perhaps you could just go into a little about where it came from exactly, and what is it, and what makes it different to other martial systems, or maybe similar to other martial systems.
Sure. Yeah. I'm still pretty young in my Systema training. I've been doing it for 6 years. I've been teaching martial arts for 16 years.
Okay.
So as soon as I started doing Systema, I started sharing it with my students. And what Systema is, it's a military training practice. It means the system.
Right.
It is a martial art, but it's different than any martial art that I've done.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
What they use it for, they being, Russian military and
Yeah.
enforcement, and they use it to train soldiers. There's a lot of breathing. There's a lot of learning self-control, how to stay calm, how to manage your autonomic nervous system. To, if you're going to send soldiers into battle, you want them to know how to stay calm. You don't want to send stressed nervous systems into a stressful environment. We all know what that does.
Right.
So, the Russians for centuries have been attacked from all sides. They know about, what we call post-traumatic stress disorder. Basically the way they see it, I guess, is, their autonomic nervous system just gets pushed too far, and they bring war back with them. It kills you one way or the other, so
Right.
A lot of the training is to stay calm. So that's one of the main things that I find so fascinating about it, because when I learned, the breathing practices, I noticed a huge difference
Right.
in my training, and I just immediately, everything, it came into focus. My boxing was better. All my sparring was better. Just my movement in general.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The system is very different. There are no techniques.
Oh, really? Is that right?
So, and I've been doing martial arts since I was in fourth grade. So I guess like 11. And I been learning, everybody teaches techniques, and there's some type of sparring. So, you got sport martial arts. There's traditional martial arts, which is basically like a history lesson, and you do things the same way, katas and stuff like that, and and there's combat martial arts. This is basically the three choices you got, and Systema obviously would be a combat martial art,
right?
But it's very different. It's very, very sophisticated. It's to train soldiers, and it's very thought out. It's not just punch, punch, kick, kick. Flip the switch kind of talk. It's how to recognize your reactions to things. How do you become emotionally excited, and what does that do? How does it manifest itself in your body? And then how does that cause tension? Does that take potential of movement and focus away from you? Then you learn how to manage that. And, I'm trying to group some of the practices and the things that you learn, trying to group it together. So I haven't really worked out a very good elevator speech for it, because there's just so much going on in it. But it's different when I see, I went to a jiu-jitsu convention
Yeah.
this weekend, and I did a 1 hour seminar on Systema.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was great. That was a lot of fun.
And so when you say the system has no techniques, is it literally they don't teach you kicking or punching or anything, or?
You do,
Okay.
but it's not a step one, do this, step two, do this. It's more about how things feel.
Oh, okay.
So there's definitely, you learn how to punch. We don't wear pads.
Yeah.
There's, we don't, there aren't any games really.
Okay.
Like sparring games, points or anything.
Yeah.
But you do spar. I don't know if you've ever seen Systema in like a YouTube video or something, or
Yeah, I have. Yeah, but I've seen. My first impression was that it was something maybe more like Krav Maga, but then when I was looking at your site, it almost looked like kind of Tai Chi or something, or Bagua or something like that. It was a sort of very slow. Well, I mean, I guess you would speed it up, but sort of fluid movements and this sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. It starts slow, and so you can monitor your tension and your excitement.
Okay.
The faster you go, the more likely you are to flinch or to overreact.
Yeah.
So the whole point is to monitor yourself and pay attention to those overreactions.
Yeah.
When they come, manage them, recognize it. You get to know yourself. The younger you are in your training, the slower you go, and the more you monitor your reactions to things.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people when they see it, they're like, "Oh, it's kind of like Aikido, or kind of like the." There, as my instructors are working. If you ever heard of Vladimir Vasilev, or
yeah.
that's how I got into it. One of my students says, "Oh, have you ever heard of Systema, the Russian martial art?" And I was like, "Yeah, whatever, another martial art. I'll look at it."
Yeah.
And it was like 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I remembered it, and I Googled, Russian martial art, and a little thing popped up on YouTube, and I saw Vladimir on YouTube moving around, and I was up the rest of the night watching the guy, getting up, trying to move like him. I mean, it was like magic to me. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And it's like he never does the same thing twice. It's like, what is going on? What's he teaching here? If you ask him, how did you do that? He'll say, it's not important. It's not about what I did. It's about what we're studying during this exercise. A wrist lock's a wrist lock. There's principles behind it.
Yeah.
If you're practicing locking a joint, then you practice locking that joint. You wouldn't specifically say, well, it's push, pull, fingers to the outside, hold close, and then repeat. That's more, like muscle memory. I did. It's hard to plug techniques and into a constantly rotating, moving scenario. So not that techniques, don't work, but it just takes so long to do them well. What I've found in Systema is that it's more, and I'm not sure if I'm getting this right or not, but it's more like motor cortex type training. You learn to move your attention around. So there's different attention drills, but it's when you're sparring, it's more training reactions, and it feels the same as when you're like treading water or riding a bike. I'm not it's very right brained. All other styles are very left brain. Categorize, put it here, this is that, this is here. you practice techniques.
Yeah.
You practice armbar. Get on the ground, armbar this way, you armbar that way. Yeah, in Systema we don't do that.
Do you think that all of the or most Systema instructors teach the same way, or is it quite individualized?
I think that there are many different drills in Systema.
Yeah.
So, for instance, Vladimir will do like specific, mostly combat oriented. Like knife and moving from knife attacks or different types of striking methods and moving on the ground. How to become familiar with being on the ground, whether you're on the ground wrestling or you're on the ground and somebody's trying to step on you, they're standing, or there's more, many times there's more than one person attacking you. So we'll do like 2-on-1, or what's fun is three people. It's like every man for himself, which usually just ends up being the two weaker ones attacking the more experienced one. But it's a real broad topic, a lot of it is just very personal. Stress, how do you maintain control and stay an individual? For instance, in a mob mentality, you like a dog pile. You can't breathe. You got 5 heavy guys laying on you. You maintain. How do you not panic? How do you find space to breathe? How do you,
Yeah. And do you think that can also relate back to sort of non-combat situations where we're sort of forced to sort of join the mob, maybe politically or in other sort of other ways?
Exactly. I don't get into fights, I mean, I don't do martial arts because I'm out there worried for my safety.
Yeah.
I'm 9 times out of 10, I'm in a room. I'm probably the most dangerous person, but I'm also the most calm person.
Right.
I don't pose any threat to people.
Yeah.
But I do it for that reason. I want to understand how it's strange because it's very much based on how you perceive things. You perceive things by what you feel, what you taste, what you hear, what you see, so forth and so on.
Yeah.
And so there's many ways of interpreting things, and I think most people think that they understand themselves much better than they actually do. I think there's a lot going on that and that's why I love Systema. Systema, you can do whatever style you want. I don't even think of it as a style. There's so many exercises and drills that any martial art or sport, or I don't care what it is you're doing, you can incorporate this stuff in practice. That's kind of what I've got a seminar this Monday. I'm going to Taekwondo school.
Okay.
And, I'm not going to teach. I want to teach exercises, Systema type exercises, and kind of use some of their. And I have a black belt in Taekwondo, so I'm familiar with their sparring and their 1-steps and I forms and all that, and things that they can do and practice and incorporate that into their style, but yeah, your question before was, do most Systema instructors all teach the same thing? And the answer is no. I mean, there are so many aspects of Systema that you could touch on. It's hard to do like an hour lesson, you know?
Yeah. Oh, and I think you trained with Vladimir Vasilev, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
After I saw the YouTube video, I think it
Yeah.
was a week later, I had a plane ticket to Toronto.
Oh, really? Wow.
You know, I was like, oh, this guy's still alive? You know, because
Yeah.
it's like having Bruce Lee, you know, live. If I was around when he was around, and you know, I got news of him, I just love martial arts. I would want to go and train with that guy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
And so, what was your experience? How did you feel, or what were you learning, and just the general sort of ethos of the Systema when you were learning it? Maybe you could say a little bit about that.
I had been doing martial arts at that point for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I started working with going to Vladimir's classes and learning breathing, which is incredible because about 20 minutes before, you know, there's an hour class,
Yeah.
about 3 classes a day, and then there's an hour class before the Systema class, which is breathing.
Okay.
And 20 minutes of the Systema class is usually some type of breathing exercise.
Ah, really?
Yeah, you're going to help move your attention to more right brain kind of motor cortex, you know, get your
Yeah.
more present.
Yeah.
It's like combat meditation is what it is.
Right. I mean, it seems in some respects, I think surprisingly to me, but it does seem to be similar in some respects to Kung Fu and Bagua and Tai Chi, and where, you know, breathing is stressed pretty heavily. But
Yeah.
but I think, you know, maybe unfairly we have an image of the Russians as a people that are not very subtle in that way, and we expect it to be sort of much harder. So it's sort of interesting that it does focus so much on the breath.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just from having read the book "Let Every Breath," which is about Systema, which is worth reading. It's a pretty short book, but I mean, there's a lot in there about Systema breathing and the way you essentially tense parts of your body as you breathe, and imagine the breath going through different parts of your body. And it's I mean, that's something that you find in Kung Fu, and obviously I think I would imagine in Tai Chi and Bagua as well. But perhaps you could just say a little something about system of breathing.
Sure. Breathing, it sounds, you read the book, it almost sounds like, you know, silly. Because unless you're familiar with that kind of thing,
Yeah.
some experience, but you know, I'm going to breathe into my arm. What do you
Right,
mean?
right,
You know,
right.
what does that mean? And so you have to use your imagination, which we do anyway.
Yeah.
So if I stub my toe at night and I can't see it, you know, what I used to do, I would become super tense. I'd hop around on one leg. I would say a bunch of stuff I'm not going to say while we're recording. And then I would look down, and in the dark, I can't see it. But in my imagination, I'd probably imagine that, you know, the toenail split and it's bleeding, and, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
My toe exploded on the you know, table leg, or but you know, all that tension and all your imagination is you imagine and you pretend that you know what's going on when the pain's there. Instead of that, you can train yourself to respond in breathing. So you would inhale, the air comes in, grabs the pain, and then you exhale it out. So now you're not ignoring the pain, right? You're not pretending that it doesn't hurt.
Right.
Because at some point, pain, you can't ignore it, but you can manage it, you know?
Yeah.
And you got to stay present with the pain. You have to pump the pain out. And as soon as I do that, when I'm injured or get, you know, popped, which is almost every day at work, right? And somebody pops me in the nose, or, my dummy knives that drop on your foot, or in a tooth or something. Um, you have to manage that. You don't want to overreact. And
right.
and we do it every day, not just with physical pain, just psychologically. We think we have it all figured out, and we get excited by many things. But pain is a good one to practice. It's simple. And so basically, I stub my toe at night. I'm lying to myself like I know my toe exploded on the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
But instead of that, you just imagine that the air is coming in, and now I'm pumping the pain out. And it works.
Mm.
And there's a million examples of that, ways of working and doing less. Like a push-up, for example. If I do a push-up on the ground, normally we just hear the word push-up and we think strenuous. It's going to be hard. I'm going to have to work. This is going to be tough physical work. And then you approach that as you're going down, you're holding your breath, you're tense, you're preparing for something strenuous. So all that, you just let go of all that, and an exercise that you could practice would be pretending that you're your arms are your lungs, basically. So you get comfortable on the floor, and you would lower yourself down. So as you exhale, the air is leaving your arms. So the tension is the air, right? So your arms are basically like big balloons. And as you go down, and then as you inhale comfortably, they inflate, and the air brings you up. So you're approaching the exercise just in a different way of how you perceive it.
Yeah.
Another one would be, instead of pushing yourself away from the floor, that you're pushing the floor away, like the floor's moving. And things get easier, you start doing less. And that's an expert level, right? Like Usain Bolt has no business running how fast he runs, right? Sprinters traditionally have just been, exactly whatever, 5'7". They're all 5'7". They all weigh this much, they're just body type. And then he comes out, he's like 6'3", and he just smokes everybody. They have no idea why. Well, the reason why is his coach yells, relax while he's sprinting, do less. Just do what's necessary,
And obviously, I think certainly in every single ancient culture, and one imagines up until the modern era, that warriors were often sort of religious in pretty extreme degrees, often, not just in the Middle East, but even in Europe, with the berserkers who were dedicated to Odin, and obviously the Crusaders as well. And it seems to be a pretty worldwide phenomenon. Obviously, you have in China, the Shaolin Temple, who are monks but also warriors as well. So
yeah. Having faith really can free up a lot of space for courage, and you're not going to spend too much time questioning yourself, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Well, and I think also the thing about having some kind of religion or some kind of spirituality that's not flaky is that you also usually have some kind of moral code as well, right? And I think the better martial arts schools have some kind of moral code as well, some kind of tenets, or some kind of even if it's not spelled out necessarily, there's some expectations that you're going to behave in a certain way, and you're not going to do certain things. And I think that's clearly important in molding the character. But do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, basically, be responsible for yourself or others if that's what's needed, and understand the difference of, when that's necessary. And if you're moral and you are being trained and you're learning skills that will be used, especially as a soldier. You're going to be in positions where you'll have to, you're going to be in a powerful position where you have to be able to pull the reins back. You don't want to go too far. So, and getting to know yourself and pushing yourself is there. So, and that's really where I think you learn a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you just give us a bit about the background? I mean, obviously it does come out of the Russian military, but I think it sort of suggested that it might be quite a bit older. I mean, maybe with the Cossacks or something like that. And obviously it would have changed pretty considerably. But I mean, I think there's the view that it has a long history in Russia.
It's centuries of Russia being attacked by all sides.
Yeah.
I mean, every side, since recorded history. So, they've been training and they're familiar with war and what that does. And so I don't know what methods came into practice
is it still used by the Russian military, or do they just
a lot of these guys are active military.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. Konstantin Komarov. I think he's a major. Vladimir is he's not active military, but he works with many of them. A lot of the soldiers come to him for breathing assistance with the psychological and that goes along with war. So which is something I'd like to see in our own military. My brother's in the military, and he has my Let Every Breath. He works with his. He graduated from West Point, so he's a captain.
Oh, really? Wow.
So he trains and shares that breathing information with his troops, which
really?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what would be the best way for people to get involved in Systema? You have your own I guess school might be one way of putting it.
Oh, a school or a gym.
Yeah.
It's a small practice. There's another school in St. Louis that's a little more advertised, and if people are interested in it, I think most of the instructors that they're certified through Russian martial arts through Toronto. So that website, RussianMartialArt.com, has a list of schools.
Okay.
There's schools, almost every city. So, it's growing. People are hearing about it, and it's not. I encourage anybody to do any martial art. But I think there's so much great information in Systema that's very easy to understand and easy to practice.
Oh,
and,
really?
I mean, it's simple practices, and you can take it and put it into an exercise in any style that you do. That's what I'm hoping to do. I'm hoping to do more seminars that are kind of sports specific, whether it's a style of martial art or it's a athletic sport, or even if it's just it can be for a business, a law firm, or whatever. Managing stress is pretty easy to do, and getting to know yourself and how you react to stress is key, and really change. I mean, not to sound corny, it really changed the planet. People are more self-aware of their own behavior,
Yeah, no, absolutely. It seems like everybody's aware of everybody else's behavior, but not them.
And that's the key. I mean, when you get to know yourself, you see things differently. You start to understand why people act the way they do.
Yeah.
Then you relate to them. You immediately forgive them, and you understand them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so it's changed my life. I love sharing it, and I really appreciate you asking me to to share it.
No worries. But before we go, perhaps you could just let people know where they can find out more about you and what you do. And
Sure. Yeah, I'm in St. Louis. My school, it's kind of tricky to find. I kind of like it that way. If you use MapQuest, it won't get you there. So, yeah, all my information and contact information is on fighttheory.com. I got my phone numbers on there, my address, and you can MapQuest and kind of see where it is. But all my appointments are scheduled. So I do small group or one-on-one, and I schedule them all each week. And so small group is up to 4 people at a time. I don't do any group classes, but I do seminars, and I do self-defense seminars, and But yeah, it's the best way to get a hold of me.
Okay, cool.
It's the website. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks very much. It's been great learning about Systema, and great learning about a little bit more about what you do as well. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the opportunity. I love sharing this stuff.